So the next video will be chapter 2 of James Patterson's Dazzling. Sayahan had to remind herself to breathe and to listen because the gorgeous man in front of her was talking. Wait, oh shit, he's talking to me. I'm sorry, what was that? His answering smile showed perfect teeth that looked immaculately white against the darkness of his trimmed beard. Light brown eyes crinkled with humour. This was a man who obviously laughed a lot. I asked if you were alright. Suddenly aware that she was still gripping onto the forearm she must have grabbed when he caught her, she snatched her hand back as she straightened up fully, nearly causing her to lose her balance a second time. Yes, I'm okay. Thank you. Leaning back slightly, he pushed his hands into his pockets. God, he's tall. Sayahan was 5 feet 7 inches, without the torturous heels. The man in front of her had to be quite a few inches over 6 feet. You're welcome. He stood in front of her, staring with a small smirk on his lips. His lips, they were full without being too plump. Sayahan thought about how soft they'd probably feel against her own mouth, how the coarse gruff on his face would offset the smoothness of his lips, creating a delicious friction that would keep her locked in the moment. That strong hand that had gripped her arm would slide around her back and pull her into him, where she'd get to revel in the hardness of what was surely a strong, lean body. Not that she knew he was well built for sure, but that's what daydreaming was for, was? Daydreaming? Oh my god, I'm doing it again. Sayahan gave herself a mental shake. Sorry. Do you always do that? Do what? She quickly looked down at herself to see if he could possibly be talking about some other embarrassing thing she was doing, instead of calling her out on her obvious lack of grace. Apologize. She narrowed her eyes in confusion. Sorry? He laughed again. You did it again. Why was she acting like such a moron? She was 27 years old, not 14. I meant that sorry as an excuse. Did you do something inappropriate? What? She asked before she could remind herself to be polite. Did you do something I need to excuse you for? Why was this guy messing with her? Why couldn't he be like most New Yorkers and ignore her existence? I mean, other than forcing you to keep me from smashing my face into the floor? He rocked back and forth on his heels before answering. How exactly did you force me to do that? Well, I guess I didn't literally force you. Most guys probably would have done what she did. His smile dropped as his brows furrowed. I'm not sure I like being compared to most guys. You'd prefer me to compare you to the few assholes who have let me fall? Sayahan mentally slapped herself. Granted, she hadn't paid much attention during Saul's meeting, but she was fairly certain using profanity in front of customers had been covered, and if not, should have been. Her dream man barked out a laugh before extending his hand toward her. I'm Derek. She put her hand into his. Sayahan. Sayahan, that's a beautiful name. He stopped shaking her but didn't release it. Thank you, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. He stepped her closer. You've done that a lot too. Sayahan looked up at him, mesmerized by his amber eyes. Done what? Thanked me. I have a lot to thank you for. Derek opened his mouth to say something else, but was cut off by Saul's gruff voice. Sayahan, you're needed at the front desk. She quickly retracted her hand and looked over at her boss, who had stopped beside her. Right, on my way. She glanced at Derek as she passed. Thanks again. Hurrying to the hostess stand, she immersed herself in catching up on seating guests and answering phones with her co-worker Tiffany. Sayahan, the girls are falling behind. You think you can help run drinks for a few minutes without screwing anything up? Saul asked. Tiffany can cover the front for a bit. Sure, I hope. Saul must have really been desperate to ask her. He made it clear that she was on thin ice. Asking her to carry liquid in flying glassware to paying customers seemed like a setup. She briskly made her way to the service station at the corner of the bar. Hey, Blaine. Blaine tucked a piece of her black hair behind her ear as she strained a martini into a glass. Hey, she smiled. What are you doing over here? Saul helped me to help run drinks. Blaine mashed her lips together as though she was stifling a laugh. Maybe you shouldn't run with them. Ha ha, very funny. So I guess you saw my little incident earlier. Blaine's blue eyes sparkled with amusement. I did. Sayahan began lining up the drinks on her tray so that she could carry it steadily when cause of John spilled liquor all over her hand. I figured out he can think me. Sayahan whipped her head around as she reached for her bargain. Derek. How's that? She asked, wondering if Derek recognised the weariness in her voice. Her knight in shining armour was quickly devolving into a sleazy frat boy. Her mind ran through a possible lunch. That had definitely not made a list. Lunch? He leaned against the bar. Yeah, I have to be in New Jersey for dinner, but I'd like to meet you for lunch before I have to leave the city. Sorry, I can't. What? Because I turn into a bubbling idiot whenever you're around? I just can't. I don't accept that as a valid excuse. Why should it matter to me whether or not you think my excuse is valid? He thought for a second. Because I'm handsome? Saihan couldn't help but the laugh that tumbled out of her. I'm not making an excuse, I really can't. I teach an art class in Central Park on Sundays. Oh, well that is a pretty good excuse. Sounds like a lot of fun. She nodded. Okay, I'll see you then. Derek turned and walked away. Saihan stood still for a few moments, too shocked to move. How could someone who had seemed so adamant about meeting her for lunch give up so easily? She had to admit, it was a little disappointing. But not only had he walked away, but he'd also looked damn happy to do so. So that's